Hey everyone, it's MrScaryMuffin here. Welcome back to another Thoughts, Talk, and TF2. And this week I wanted to share, in part, a little bit of wisdom that I kind of recall recently that my drama teacher gave me back when I was 15 years old. Thinking about it now, wow, that is half my lifetime ago. 15 years ago, I was 15 years old. And I was in a play. I was doing a musical actually. I had a minor role in a musical, but just before a performance night, or on performance night, before we were due to perform, my drama teacher, he kind of drew us into the room. We did our warm-ups and kind of stuff, and then he'd let us know this very important piece of advice that he gave us, and that was the audience is a multi-headed beast, and basically the successes that you have this night may not necessarily carry over to the next night. The scenes where you are, where people are laughing, scenes where people are cheering or clapping or whatever, those may not be scenes that they are clapping and cheering and laughing the next night. You might be doing the same thing in exactly the same way, but you'll garner different reactions. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. We shouldn't be aiming for these particular at these moments. We shouldn't be aiming or expecting the audience to react in a certain way in other moments, basically. And the reason he told us this is so that while we're performing, we wouldn't worry about the audience too much, right? We wouldn't worry about the reaction. If we get a good reaction, that's great. We'll work off that. If we didn't get a reaction where we expected a reaction, then we just take it in stride and keep going. The audience tends to react in weird ways that we never expect, and basically part of it was also to let us know that we shouldn't be caught off guard. One of the worst things that we can do is if we had a minor success one night, we then try to build on it the next night. And a very good example of that was there was this one girl who had a solo or a line, and it was like, that's what you, we were doing Fiddler on the Roof, and the line was, that's what you get from men and women dancing. And then the dancing part, where she's kind of screeching a little bit, people laughed on one night, and then she just kind of like embellished it more and more every night, and the next night it was like the final night it was just like dancing. It was just like, whoa, way too much. And that's how you know, one of those things where you can see where it kind of goes overboard. Now, the reason this kind of came back to mind recently is because now I'm working in the video game industry, and just like the audience of a live performance, the audience for video games is a multi-headed beast. And I guess it's a long way around of saying you can't please everyone, but there's more to it than that, right? Your audience, some people will love certain things, some people will hate certain things, some people will want this thing, some people will want another thing when you give it the other thing to them, right? A more cynical way of looking at it is that the people don't know what they actually want. You know, people are like, oh man, this game, you know, if only this game was completely free or whatever, I would play it all the time. But the truth is that one of the reasons why the game is addicting is because there's an inherent value to the things that you're doing. You feel like what you're doing is like making money because you're playing the game for free, but you're not spending money, kind of thing. You know, there's things like that, right, where people don't quite understand the psychology behind it. And sometimes when you, for example, if a child wants to eat only candy forever, you really can't give them candy forever, even though that's what they actually really want, right? They're very short-sighted and that kind of stuff. But the interesting thing about this is also how you interact with the audience, right? And I work for EA, and EA gets a lot of flack for not responding, and I'm responding to the audience, responding to their customers and all that kind of stuff. And actually, well, the same applies to Valve, the same applies to Nintendo and stuff like that. The same applies to everyone, because this is a problem everybody has, is that you can't respond to everybody, nor can you please everybody. And it's not that we're not trying, but we have to do very carefully. We can't take one thing that was successful and blow it to massive proportions, because then you get the dancing stuff going on, and that's not good, right? When every game that we push out is very much like a new performance every night. Even though it is the same game, even though we are doing the same thing, people may react to it differently. People may react to it differently because we're EA versus Valve. People may react differently because of this or that, right? You really can't, like, assume people react a certain way. You can generally know, like, here are the jokes, here are the solos where people typically applause, you know, like here's the big numbers, that kind of stuff. Like, you generally know people will probably applause after a big number. People will probably laugh at the jokes that are funny because those are the jokes that are funny, right? Generally those are the things, but every now and then you'll get little gems that pop out of nowhere, right? People are like, oh, I really like Portal in the orange box. Like, who would have thought? Ah, the cake is alive, blah, blah, blah. And props to Valve, they didn't push it too hard. You know, they were very mindful of what was the success. And you see some companies, or you see anything really, they go the wrong way, where they take a good thing and they only focus on that. And that becomes a problem. You know, things like, for example, in Mario Galaxy, right? If they took a certain element of that, where one of the favorite parts, I think, some people were talking about, was it Mario Galaxy or Mario Sunshine? Mario Sunshine, where you're in the floaty place and doing the platforming, 3D platforming stuff. People really, really like that. And so they try to pull that out, that alone, into Mario Galaxy. Well, the problem was Mario Galaxy was a little bit wonky. There was a little bit too much stuff to do, and it wasn't focused enough. And eventually in Mario 3D World, they kind of perfect that stuff, but it took a few iterations to get to that point. And what I'm trying to say is basically is that you really can't please everyone, and that's one of those things where you have to realize that the audience will always react different ways, and you have to deal with it however you can. And this applies to real life as well, right? You have different people, and even though you continue doing your job, you continue doing your studies or whatever, different people will judge you and react to you in different ways. You might find somebody who thinks you're the most interesting person in the world. You find somebody who absolutely hates your guts for no good reason. And you as a person responding to these outside audiences of your life will have to find a proper way to respond to them, or to work off of them, right? That's just one of those things that you have to do. You can't overreact. You find something that's really good that you do, you can't overly commit to something like that. You should still continue doing all the things, because you really don't know the holistic kind of stuff that is applying to it. Anyways, I just wanted to share that with you guys today. I thought it was kind of an interesting topic, something just to mull over. It goes deeper than that, but I think this is good for the starting point. Let me know what you guys think about this. I'd be interested to hear if you guys could work deeper into this analogy than I did in this video. And I will catch you guys again next week. I do plan on talking about E3 eventually, so we'll get there. And I'll see you guys next week then. Till then, take care.